First of all, let me remind you about the tutorial classes. The tutorial lessons are on this week as well, so please attend. There will be question going on the overhead costing. One question the tutor will complete. Are you guys attending the tutorials?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So please also continuously attend this week. We will also try to have one more class next week as well, so that maybe one question on joint and byproduct costing, which is we are going to do next week. One question you can practice on the tutorial classes. And the special test, those students who missed the test 1 or test 2, they are going to write the special test on 7th of November. We are going to organize the test on 7th of November. So though if anybody missed, kindly prepare for it. Okay. Now, today, as I said in the last lesson, today I'm going to do one question on the job costing and one another question on the overhead costing to cover and just to ensure that the student will understand the concept of simultaneous equation method. All right. So we are starting with the question with the overhead, and I'm taking the question which is we used for the class activity, but this time with the simultaneous equation method. Oh, just a minute. Let me open the slide. Okay, are you able to see the question?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the question we are going to do today with the simultaneous equation method. So the first class activity on overhead, the furniture making business based in Gabron has 3 production department and 2 service department. They have the following cost items, which is they need to be apportioned among the product. Then we also have the information given about the area which is occupied by the various department, the value of machines, telephone point. So all those information was given in the question, and on the basis of this, we have also the specific allocation for indirect material and indirect labor. And then on the basis of it, we prepare the overhead analysis sheet. I'm not going to do the process of a specific allocation, which is step 1 in overhead costing, and the primary allocation, which is step 2 of the overhead costing. So we are only going to cover the third method which is known as uh, secondary allocation, or it is also called reapportionment. Okay, so after a specific allocation, production department A gets 28,000, production department B 17,000, department C 12,000, X and Y 8,000 and the 6,000 respectively. And then we apportion like rent and rates, which is given together 128,000. Then the machine insurance 60,000, which has been apportioned based on this various. I believe that those who are attending the class, you know that how to do the apportionment based on the suitable factor. Do you still remember how to do the apportionment?
No,
Can you?
ma'am.
You don't know how to do the apportionment. Like here, we did here in this. Sorry, I think I have to go back like this. Because this is the information, this is the question. In the question, you have given some of the overhead cost like rent and rates, supervisor salary, telephone charges, depreciation, machine insurance, all those charges, the overhead cost which is incurred for all the department including the production service. So they also need to be divided the cost among the department. The reason is we classify and divide the cost, apportion them, just to find out that if which department consuming more cost, and what are the reason behind if they are over costing, not a normal costing. So that is the reason we always apportion the cost among the departments. So these are the cost which is paid together, but we don't know how much for each other. And that's the reason that cost has to be apportioned, shared, or divided. But now the question is, how are you going to divide? So for that, you need some reason or some basis of dividing or sharing the cost. So for that, this information has been given in the question, like rent and rates. Rent is always paid for the area which is using by the business. So when you are apportioning the rent, we use floor area. Floor area, it is in square meters, 3,000 square meter used by A, 1,800 by department B, 600 by department C, another 600 by X, and 400 square meter by Y. So when you are apportioning, we use that information, sorry, the information given here. Okay, so the information are given like that. Here you can see that. So we add the total floor area like 3,000 plus 1,800 plus 600 plus 600 and 400. So the total area will be 3 plus 4, 5, 6, 6,400. So when you are apportioning the rent and rate, The rent and rate is 128,000. Please go through my recording. I explained this even on Teams how to apportion this cost. So we take the area of A 3,000 over total area times cost. That's how we do the apportionment. When you are finding out the share of B, the area occupied B over total times rent and rate cost. Same thing we do with C and X and Y. So when you are apportioning, you will get this 128,000 has been apportioned among A, B, C in this ratio. 60,000, 36,000, 12,000, 12 and 8. And machine insurance is goes according to the machine value. Telephone charges is goes according to the telephone point. Depreciation goes according to the machine value. Supervision according to the direct labor hours. Heat and lighting according to the floor area. So that's how we apportion them, and you get all these figures here. Then we get their total. After after a specific and primary allocation, we get the total, but here the cost has been in production department as well as in service department. Because the service department are meant to support the productions department, that's why their cost, which is 49,000 incurred for X and 30,000 which is come for the department Y, has to be reapportioned. They are going to be reapportioned only to the productions department. Here 49,000 and the 30,000 for Y. Okay, they have to be reapportioned. So there are various methods, as we said previously. There is a first method called direct method, direct distribution method. The second method called repeated distribution, and the third one is called
Algebra.
algebraic. So we are going to do algebraic method to understand how it will be applied. Our purpose is this 49,000 has to be apportioned, and this 30,000 from the Y has to be reapportioned among the three production department. So when we are applying the simultaneous equation, you have to form the equation by showing the relation between uh, one service department to another service department, how much they are correlated to each other. For that, we know that the service department X total cost is 49,000 and Y is 30,000, and service department gets or uses 10% of the cost allocated to the Y. Same service department Y gets 5% overhead cost which is allocated to the service department X, because they are also working for each other. How do we know that? They are also working 5%, 10% for each other. That one information you will be given in the question. Here you can see that the service department X is working 50% for A, 30% for B, 20% for C, and 5% for Y. So Y department getting 5% cost from X. Similarly, the service department Y is working 20% for A, 30% for B, 40% for C, and 10% for X. He giving his 10% time for X. So 10 X also getting 10% cost of the Y. This 10% coming from the Y department. So X getting 10% and department Y getting 5% from X. Okay. So that information we use it here. So that information in a formula, we write like this. The total cost of service department X, is equal to, they have 49,000 after primary allocation plus 10% of Y department. Because the Y department, he worked 10% for X. So he gets 10% from the Y department. Same, the service department of Y, their total cost of service department of Y is equal to 30,000 plus 5%, which is he's getting from another service department X. So X is getting 10% of Y and Y is getting 5% of X. When we're saying 5% and you simply means 5 over 100 and you simplify it, so it will give you 0.05. Okay, 0.05. So that's how you get service department. So when you put that information in a form of equation or formula, these equations are known as simultaneous equation. Now we have to find out, because X is indicating the total overhead cost of X, 49 plus 10% of Y, and Y is indicating the total overhead cost of Y, including the 5% from X. Now, with the help of these two equations, we have to determine the value of X and Y. What is the sum of X or total cost of service department X, and what is the total of service department Y first? Now, to solve the equation, we put in any formula, either equation 1 or 2, the value of X in the equation 2 or the value of Y in the equation 1. So here we are putting the value of Y into the equation 1. So X is become 49,000 plus 0.10 Y. Instead of Y, we put the value of Y. Okay. Instead of Y, we put its value. So the value of Y is 30,000 plus 0.05x. Now we solve the equation. X is equal to 49,000 plus 3,000. When you multiply 30,000 with 0.1, 0.1, it will give you 3,000. And 0.01 times 0.05x, so it will give you 0.005x. Now when you're writing x here, is always consider 1x. So 1x in the next step, it will be 1x. Then we bring this value, because this is also x value and it is opposite side of equal sign. Here it was plus, so when you move to the next side, it will become minus 0.005x equals 39 plus 3, which is make you 52,000. Then from 1x, we subtract 0.005, so it will give you 0.995x. Then it is 52,000. Then to determine the value of x, then x equals to 52,000 divided by 0.995. We divide, then you will get 51,000 and 261. 261. That's how you get. So after adding the 10% from Y, the total overhead cost of service department X is become 49 plus something, which is give you 52,216. Once we get the value of X, then we have to also determine the value of y. Are we together? Do you understand this part? Do you
Yes,
understand?
ma'am.
Okay. Now, so we'll put the value of x into the equation 1 or 2. So the value of x is 52,261. Then you put here 61, then minus the next step 52, 261 minus 49,000 equals to 0.01 y. Then when you subtract, it will give you, let me check how much it will give. 52,261 minus 49,61. Then this thing you divide it by 0.1. Three, five. Just a minute. 3261 divided by. So it will give you 32,610. That's how you will calculate the value of y by using the both equation. Once you get the value of x and value of y, now we have to apportion this value of x and y among 3 production department. So 50% will go to the department A. This is our department A. This is B and C. So the total value is 52,261. 52,261 times 50% will go to department A, which is makes 200, and either you can take the round figure or you can calculate. It will give 1365.25, and this one will be 20%. 52,261 times 20. So it will give 1052.25. So that's how it will apportion. You can add and check if your the apportionment has done correctly. 2630.50. Hmm. 630. Let me just check. Hmm. 5261 times 26, right? Mhm. Yeah. So that's how we apportion 50%, 25, and 20. Same thing. 32,610 we will be apportioned in the ratio of 20 over 100. So 32,610 times 20 is 6522. Then here 30%, 30, which is give 9,783, and this one will be 40%, 13,444. Yes. Or you can round up 45. Yes. So that's how it will apportion. Then you will add 26 130.25 plus 6522 plus 381. It will give you 4652. Now here we will round up. We are not going to put in the decimal. 848. And this one will be 49. So that's how we get the total of all department after reapportioning the service department cost to the productions department. Okay. And then we calculate the overhead absorptions rate. So overhead absorptions rate we divided by when you are calculating the suitable overhead absorptions rate, then we have to choose between machine hour and the labor hour, which one is higher. So if the machine hour is higher, we divide it by the budgeted machine hour. But if the labor hour is higher, we divide it by the budgeted labor hours and get those overhead absorptions rate. Any question so far? Do you have any question which is you would like to ask? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we also use one term in terminology in overhead costing, which is called plant-wide rate. So what is the meaning of plant-wide rate? A plant-wide overhead rate is a single overhead rate that a company uses to allocate all its manufacturing overhead cost to the products. That is called plant-wide rate. When instead of having the different rate for the different department, they just have a one rate overall for all the departments. That rate is called plant-wide rate. And how do we calculate the plant-wide rate? A one rate for the whole department. For that we use a formula. total overhead cost of organization divided by total, either what is called total labor hours or total machine hours, any one of them. Okay, that's how we calculate. Like here you can see that we add the overhead cost for all department, production and the service department. So the total cost of all department is 775,000. Then if we are calculating the plant-wide rate per machine hour, then we add the machine hours to all department, and then we divide it like if we are calculating on direct labor hours, we add the all direct labor hours like here for 3 ABC department, 32,000, 80,000 and 10. So it is 60,000. We divide it. Then per hour rate is 12 pula, 92 thabe direct labor hours. So that's how we calculate the plant-wide rate which is applied to all the department. Okay. So now
Understand.
everybody understand the simultaneous equation method?
Yes, ma'am. But now I don't understand the plant rate.
Plant-wide rate.
Yes, ma'am.
No, like sometimes we calculate is like in the previous slide. Here we are calculating for department A overheads absorptions rate for A, for B, for C, and you see between A and B there is no much difference. A has 12 pula 93 thabe, B has 12 pula 49 thabe, maybe C also have 12 pula 65 thabe. So you can see that the difference is not much. So in this case, the company, instead of having the separate rate for A, for B or for C, they just would like to use one overhead rate for the all department to budget the overhead cost. Instead of separately for ABC, they just want to use one rate for all the department ABC. That rate is known as plant-wide rate. So how do we calculate? We just take the total overhead cost and divide it by total machine hour or the total labor hours. If we are calculating for direct labor hour, we add the labor hour of department A for B and C, and the total hours we divide it divided to 775,000, and we get a one rate. That rate, which is 12.92, when we are budgeting the overhead costs in future for those department, instead of separate rates, we just budgeted by one rate. So is used to entire business, entire plant. That's why it is called plant-wide rate. I hope you understand now.
Yes, ma'am. I understand.
Okay. Anyone else has any question? All right. So we are done with overhead costing. Please practice more question and attend the tutorial class this week. They are also going to do one reapportion method. I don't know which one, but they are going to do one method. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now we are going to do one question on job costing. Remember last week we started the explanation on job costing. Can you see this question on the job costing? How many people attend the lesson last week? How many of you attended the class last week on job costing? Anyone? You didn't? Okay. So you have no idea about what is the job costing? Okay, so I will do this question on job costing once you go through the notes of the job costing, which is I taught in the last lesson. Then I will cover this part, okay? Because otherwise it makes no sense if you don't know what is the job costing, how to determine the cost for a job. I'm not going to repeat the entire thing once more time. Did you see the recording of last lesson or did you attend the physical class? Any one of you?
No, ma'am. Nah, I couldn't see the recording, but I'll see it after this one.
No. If you didn't see the recording, none of you can understand the calculation of this question. The question I would like to do, because you need to understand the basic of, and I'm not going to teach again the entire thing. Is your responsibility. If you are not attending physical class, if you are not attending the online, you should go through the recording before you come for the next lesson. You can't just skip the lessons. So please go through the recording of last lesson, which is done on job costing. Then on Wednesday class, before I start the joint and byproduct, I will quickly go through with this question, and because it won't take more than 5 minutes. So I will quickly go through. If you know the concept of job costing, you won't take time. And then we will proceed with the joint and byproduct costing. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know. I do not want to teach again everything again. So please read, go through the recording. Now we will meet on Wednesday. I have no choice. I have to stop the lesson here. But
Ma'am,
apart from that, any question would you like to ask? Yes, please go ahead.
I wanted to ask if there's going to be a makeup test.
We are still marking the test 2 paper based on the result of test 1 and test 2, both test 1 and test 2. Then we will see how many students perform good or not good. Then we are going to decide if there is any makeup test. Okay, then we
Okay,
will
ma'am.
inform about it maybe a week, the week which is before the exam, that week, if we are conducting the special test.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Mm. Why you haven't done test too good? How was your test
Eh,
too?
my test 2 weeks, I couldn't answer some questions.
Why? We taught everything. Then why you couldn't?
My mind just went blank. I don't know what happened.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. We will talk. We'll see how much you manage to score. Let me finish also quickly. My marking is there's a lot of things to finish before we close. Okay, guys. Thank you. Please go through the recording before you come for the next lesson.
Yes.